Welcome to Burning Questions with myself, Glenn, and my colleague Craig. You've seen both of us, I'm sure, on previous episodes of Burning Questions. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the training that we offer and services associated with product training and certification to do with that. So first and foremost, Craig, we offer a CPD presentation. What can you tell us about that?
Good, yeah, thanks Glenn. Well, I guess starting point is probably to actually identify what CPD stands for.
Yeah.
Might be a word that we use or a term we use. So, kick off, can you remember?
Not off the top of my head, continuous professional development or something.
Spot on, there we are. So, continuous professional development. So, whilst persons may have a general knowledge about products and systems and standards and requirements, a CPD is usually a session run by a manufacturer who is obviously familiar with the specific regulations and products and systems that are available. And it's usually about an hour's presentation to give if you like, a 30,000 foot view. So we at Quailfire run a presentation called Effective Passive Fire Protection for Service Penetrations in Buildings. So passive fire protection is a very, very broad subject. And this is just a 1 hour presentation, or rather a 40-50 minute presentation with an opportunity to ask questions at the end on service penetration, so a specific area of passive fire protection. So yeah, it's a way that architects traditionally, but as we're proving, anyone to get a basic introduction to a specific subject.
Yeah, that's excellent. And there's various ways that people can access our CPD, isn't there? Do you want to tell people what options there are?
Absolutely, yeah. So we run a monthly webinar currently on Zoom, which is open to anyone to register for. As I say, join via Zoom. But we do also roll the CPD out for individuals, specific organisations. So you can, again, apply via our website to have a dedicated session for your organisation. So if you've got enough people and you think it's relevant, and great opportunity for you to not only have the CPD, but of course ask questions and have them answered there and then in the moment. Possibly a bit more interactive face to face, but it depends what works for you and your teams.
Yeah, excellent. That's the CPD very well covered, I think. In terms of training, we do also offer more product specific training and training that's more adapted to, I guess, installers of the products themselves, aren't they? So
some people will call that toolbox talks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we offer toolbox talk presentations on our individual products. So things like the QWR fire collar, our intumescent and acoustic putty pads. We do those presentations. So the collar would be perhaps for mechanical and electrical contractors, and the putty pad training again for electrical contractors. So basically, the Toolbox Talk training is quite a short presentation, relatively, between sort of 20 and 30 minutes, obviously again with the option at the end to ask questions, and gives a basic introduction to who we are, the purpose of installing the product, why it needs to be installed, and then goes into the specifics on actually how to fit the product. So yeah, very product specific, but very useful as well, and can be conducted virtually or in person if required.
I think one of the fundamental points there is the education on why the product is being installed.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's very easy for an electrician, let's say, to be asked to install a putty pad in the back of an electrical socket. Does that electrician understand why they're installing that product, and importantly, why and how to actually install it? They might regard this bit of red putty as actually a nuisance.
Yeah.
You know, it's taking up space in the socket where I want to put my wires. But it's a life safety critical element.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fundamental part of maintaining those compartment lines. So it's a good opportunity to obviously educate them on how to install, in addition to giving them the actual installation instructions and the standard details, but also a little bit of thought provoker there of the significance of what it is and why they should install it in the right way.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and we do get good feedback on that point, don't we? Want from customers who've presented it to, they do perhaps hadn't realised why before, and afterwards they do realise. So yeah, no, that's a good point, Craig. And in addition to the Toolbox Talks, we also offer more in-depth installer training and technical training for perhaps fire stoppers who understand the basic principles of the products, but more in depth on our tested details and our technical information and so on.
Clarification, I guess, around terminology, where they can find the specific information, an explanation of the standard layouts of drawings. As you say, they should understand the basics, which end to hold a sealant gun or how to use a Stanley knife to cut a fire bat, for instance. But what we mean by a 5mm annulus, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And with all those training sessions, including the CPD, certificates of attendance can be issued, can't they? So that's simply a certificate or a piece of paper to say that a named person has attended the session. So, can provide confidence for main contractors and so on that, they've spoken to the manufacturer, i.e. us, and had that training. We do get asked about third-party accreditation and certification, don't we? It's not something that we offer. Do you want to go into a bit on that, Craig?
Yeah, again, it's worth kind of understanding, I suppose, what the minimum expectations are. So approved document B, which is the guidance document for achieving building regulations, states that a third-party accredited installer can provide a level of confidence about the quality of the installation. That's in my words, not verbatim. But the principle of it is it's good practice, and indeed it's recommended. But there are certain products, we've alluded to the putty pad, for instance, that may not lend themselves to being installed by a third-party accredited contractor. It probably does lend itself to being installed by an electrician in some applications. So the point about the Toolbox Talks is that it's a way of providing that electrician with some information on how to install it, but also importantly providing the client or the main contractor a level of confidence about the quality of the installation. But yeah, it's not a third-party accreditation scheme. That's there's obviously costs associated. There's a number of different schemes. I guess FIRAS, IFC, probably some of the bigger names that we hear on a day-to-day basis.
And I guess the point is with those third-party accredited is they're done by qualified third parties, aren't they? That are set up to do that training. As a manufacturer, we are a manufacturer of products at the end of the day. We're not a certification body or anything like that. That leads us on, I guess, to another question we get asked, which is about the inspection or certification of works. Once products have been installed, can we perhaps visit site to go and sign it off or check it's okay? What's our view on that, Craig?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. It is, I suppose it's a hotly debated topic, excuse the pun. But ultimately, it's great having great products and great systems and great designs and early engagement with these things, but the products are only as good as how they're installed. So it is a really important point, the inspection that they, to make sure they are installed in accordance with the test evidence. On face value, there's only so much you can see. So if you've got a 10mm annulus requirement around let's say a CPVC sprinkler pipe, is that sealant just painted onto the face of the bat, or is it actually the correct depth? Is it the full depth of the fire bat? So an inspector's role actually can be quite difficult, because just visually inspecting, you can only see half the picture. So really, where there's a requirement for inspection, it's going to be very much down to individual contract requirements, I would suggest. But ultimately, we've got independently tested products, independently certified installers. Does it not make sense to have independent inspections? Question. As I say, it's a hotly debated topic. Yes, for sure, we as a manufacturer know our products really well. We know how they should be installed. But as I say, if we were to go onto site, we can only see what we can see.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where the benefits of using a third-party accredited contractor come in, because they would generally be doing progressive installation reporting, taking before, during and after photographs. So from those photographs, you should be able to determine whether the sealant is painted on the surface or whether it's within the full depth of the bat.
Yeah.
So independent inspection as part of the accreditation scheme, absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Maybe independent inspection in addition to that. As I say, we know our products, we know what they should look like, but it's actually more than just looking at the products, and we are not inspectors.
No, absolutely.
So we can't be expected to come to site and kind of, if you like, sign off installations because there's only so much we can see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously what we can offer as a manufacturer is excellent technical support and assistance and help with identifying solutions. Obviously there are certain things we need to know, certain points of information we need in order to provide those solutions, but yeah, you know, from that point of view, we're more than happy to support in that way, aren't we?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess what you're alluding to is situations where maybe installation hasn't commenced, and customers may say, well, can you come to site and advise on what needs to be installed? Of course, you know, we're humans. We like to interact with people. We'll come and talk to you about what's needed. But yeah, as you say, it boils down to the bare facts.
Yeah.
What is the pipe or the cable or the service or the insulation? What's the size, the specification? What fire rating you're trying to achieve? What's the wall type, floor type, etc.
Yeah.
Now, all those things can be determined on site.
Yeah.
But is that the most efficient way of doing it? Or is it better to look at the hard, cold facts from the computer in the office, get in touch with the technical team and identify the solutions there? And then, okay, if there's still outstanding questions or if someone wants to meet you physically and look at products and samples, well, then we have a site meeting.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
But let's establish the facts.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess if you don't establish the facts first and foremost, it's almost, you know, it's kind of could potentially be a waste of everyone's time if you don't know. You know, you're looking for, as you mentioned, specific diameters of pipe, specific thickness of insulation, specific type of insulation. You know, you can't always identify that just from looking at something, so it often requires a bit of work from all parties, you know, prior to, as you say, if a site visit is deemed necessary eventually, prior to that, there is a lot of work that needs to happen, isn't there?
And I guess everyone can probably relate to the fact that often you have a meeting and, you know, halfway through the meeting someone disappears because the phone's ringing or there's something urgent happening downstairs or so on and so forth. Again, it's all about being efficient and importantly being specific about what the problem you're trying to solve and the specific solutions. You know, not just generalising about what you think you can see. Let's look at the hard, cold facts.
Absolutely.
And identify the correctly tested solution to match.
Yeah, great. I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Obviously, we've covered the training that we offer and the services, the technical support and whatnot that we can offer as well. If you would like to get in touch to book a CPD or book a training session, feel free to do so using the contact details that are on screen now.